I will be doing a quick tank review for the Chinese Tier 4 light tank, the M5A1 Stewart. The M5A1 tank. It is a slightly improved version of the American counterpart at the same tier. So, both of these tanks have the same play style, whether you are coming from the M5 to the M5A1. There is not much of a learning curve from that tank to the other. This tank, it is a tier 4 light tank, so you will have a scout matchmaking between tier 4 up to tier 7 maximum. So, the majority of the damage that you will be doing, for the most part, it is from the active or passive scouting that you do for the team, besides for what additional damage that you actually do from the gun itself. This tank, as a light tank, if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, you can be killed easily enough due to the poor armor and hit point value that this tank it does have. Now, let's get into the vehicle stats themselves. The tank stats themselves, when they are fully upgraded, it is not that great nor bad. The mobility, the concealment, the vehicle spotting, it is quite good. Besides that, the gun itself and the vehicle's survival ability, it is not that great. So let's begin off with the firepower. The top gun that you will be using, it is the 47mm gun, which you would have had unlocked already from the previous tank. This tank gun itself, it is quite good when you're top tier or when you're flanking a enemy tank side or rear. With the high rate of fire that this gun it does have, you could potentially finish a enemy tank off in a hurry if you have to, if you have the situation to do so without getting yourself killed in the process. The rate of fire it is 24 plus, so that is pretty good. Penetration value it is good for its tier, so you can penetrate most of the enemy tanks easily enough. From tier 4 up to tier 6 easily enough if you know where to shoot at. When it comes to the vehicle weak spots, when it comes to the front, side, or rear, or you could penetrate most tanks easily enough, no matter what the matchmaking is, when you are flanking a tier 4 to a tier 7 tank when it comes to the side and rear armor. Damage output per shot, it is quite low, 70, but with the great APCR penetration value, you can penetrate most of the heavily armored tanks that you will be going up against if you know where to aim at their weak spots. Damage it is quite low per shot, so as I said previously, the majority of the damage you will be doing it is from the lighting up of the enemy tank. Besides that, you can do a good amount of damage with this gun if you can make use of the rate of fire in a short amount of time. Potentially within a minute, you could do about 1,716 damage, which is not too bad for a low damage gun. The gun accuracy and aiming time, it is okay, 0.42, so you will have a problem getting precise shots off, unless if you are at a medium to a short distance range only. Aiming time, it is okay, it is about 2.3 seconds. You have a quick load time of the gun, so you can fully aim onto the enemy tank in a hurry and hit the enemy tank for the most part with the superior rate of fire that you have. The turret traverse, it is fantastic at 50 degrees. With the fantastic hull and turret traverse that you have, you can easily turn this thing around in a hurry if you have to. Gun depression downward, it is 10, so you can heel fight with this if you have to, when you're being a bit of a passive scout, or even being a bit of a sniper if you have to at times. Gun elevation upward, it is 20. As I said before, the majority of the damage you will be doing with this tank, it is from the scouting that you will be doing. It is not the actual gun itself, unless you have a very good match to do potentially 1,716 damage. Survivability, it is completely rubbish. 340. You can potentially be one-shotted by a howitzer that fire HE at you, or be killed by a high rate of fire gun if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. The armor in the front, it is 28. For the whole side, 28. Rear 25. Turret armor, it is 45 in the front side, rear 31. The tank armor, front armor, and is angled a bit. With the front armor here being angled, you can ricochet a few rounds if you angle the armor well enough whenever you are top tier in a tier 4 match only. Besides that, everything will penetrate you easily enough, so expect everything to hit you. So, knowing when to move, shoot, stay still, while being a jack of all trades type of light tank, it is essential if you want to do quite well in this tank. Mobility, it is fantastic for weighing about 16 tons. You have a 440 horsepower engine, which will allow you to have about 27 horsepower to 1 ton. That means you can easily reach the 64-kilometer mark for the vehicle top speed. Reverse speed, it is pretty good at 20. The 64-kilometer mark for the vehicle top speed, you can easily reach this when you are on flat terrain, going in a straight line or going downhill most often. The vehicle traverse speed for the haul, it is fantastic at 40. Now, the vehicle concealment rating, it is pretty good when it is on the move and when it is staying still. When the vehicle it is staying still, it is 16.3. But when you are using a camouflage net, the camouflage around you and the terrain, you can remain hidden for a good amount of time until you are seen when you are playing the tank properly as a passive scout at this tier. When on the move, it is 16.3. Now, the vehicle spotting range, it is pretty good. For base view range, it is 350, which you can increase it even more with a pair of binocular telescope when you're playing primarily as a passive scout, or you can increase it even more using a pair of coated optics if you want to play this tank as a more of a active scout compared to a passive scout. Radio range, it is about 650 meters for the top radio, which is pretty good. Now, let's get into the vehicle research part of the tank. Now, when it comes to the research part of the tank, there is not that much that you will have to do in the terms of research to get to the tier 5 tank. So let's go to the research part of the tank now. The research of the tank. To get to the tier 5 tank, the type T-34, you will just have to research the top turret only and the 47mm gun, unless if you have not done so already, on the Jihad to get to the type T-34 ASAP, the Russian tier 5 the Chinese Tier 5 medium tank, the Type T-34. For the most part, that tank plays very familiar to the Russian counterpart, except for some minor differences. Let's begin off with the tracks. To mount all of the equipment onto the tank here, you will have to get the top pair of tracks. The traverse speed increases from 36 up to 38 with a better load limit to have all of the equipment onto the tank here. The engine itself, you have a good engine to begin off with, a 300 horsepower engine. You can use the first engine throughout the entire grind if you want to. It's a viable idea to do so if you don't want to unlock and use the second engine here. The second engine here, it is usable on this tank only. You will have a better horsepower to ton ratio with this tank if you choose to use the 400 horsepower engine. That extra 104 horsepower, it does make a bit of a difference when it comes to the acceleration, getting to the vehicle top speed ASAP. Radio, you have two to use. The first one, it is about a 400 meter signal range radio, with the second one being about 615. It is quite viable for you to use the first radio throughout the entire grind to get to the tier 5 tank ASAP. If you want to have a slightly better radio on the tank here, unlock and use the second radio here as you get 215 meters more from the radio signal range itself with this radio. This radio, unfortunately, it is usable on this tank only, so it is up to you if you want to use the stock radio, which is not too bad at this tier, or a slightly better radio that it is only usable on this tank only. Turrets, you have two to use. The M5A1 turret, which you can use throughout the entire grind and mount the 47mm gun. Or you could use the M5A1 turret, which you have slightly better armor, better view range, more hit points, and better gun handling stats for the 47mm gun. My recommendation is unlock and use the top turret as it is the best one from these two, but it is quite a viable idea to use the first turret throughout the entire grind if you don't want to spend the necessary credits on the top turret to mount it and use it. Guns, yeah, you have two to use. The 37mm gun and the 47mm gun. The 37mm gun, it is not that great. It is just like the 47mm gun, but worse. High rate of fire, great aiming time of 1.7 seconds with a same terrible accuracy 0.42 with a worse penetration value and damage output per a shot. Use this gun until you get the required experience to mount and use the better gun, which is the 47mm gun. If you unlocked this gun already on the Jihad, then use it right away as this is the best gun that you will have on this tank. You have a high rate of fire gun with good penetration value, low damage output, but slightly better compared to the previous gun with a okay accuracy and aiming time. Now, I will be covering the consumables, the ammunition layout, the equipment, and how are you going to be using the M5A1 Stewart. Let's begin off with the consumables. Consumables, I would go with a first aid kit, repair kit, and for the third piece, I would go with the removed speed governor. Remember to turn this on and off when need be to increase the acceleration rate for your tank so you can get to the top speed of the tank ASAP. The vehicle ammunition count, you have 73 rounds of ammo, which means for the most part you will never run out of ammo in this tank. The main ammo type you will be using, it is AP and APCR. Both of them have relatively good penetration value, so you can penetrate most of the enemy tanks easily enough, especially the side and rear of the enemy tank armor. The main ammo type that you would be primarily using is AP with some APCR when you have to use the better penetration value against the heavily armored targets that you will be going up against in Tier 5, 6, and 7 match if you have to. So having some APCR rounds on you is not a bad idea when it comes to those situations alone. As the regular AP, you have a 50-50 chance if you are going to penetrate the enemy heavy tank armor or not. HE, it's a good idea to have some to use it against enemy light tanks, artillery pieces, or even just use it to destroy debris in front of you. The equipment that I went with is the camouflage net and the binocular telescope to increase the tank performance when I am primarily using it as a passive scout or as a medium to a short distance sniper. The other pieces of equipment that you can use if you want to is a toolbox to get your repairs done faster, the enhanced gunning drive to have a better aiming time, coated optics is a good substitute for the binocular telescope if you want to have a permanent plus 10 view range when you are going to be playing this tank primarily as a active scout versus a passive scout. The enhanced springs is a bad idea to use as it doesn't increase the tank performance by that much. Same thing with the wet ammo rack, light spall liner as well, with the paper thin armor. Your modules and the crew members, they can be injured easily enough. So the spall liner, it doesn't help all that much. But if you go with improved ventilation class 1, the plus 5% bonus increases the tank and the crew performance by a bit. Now, let's cover how are you going to be using the M5A1 Stewart. This tank is a Tier 4 light tank, so you will have scout matchmaking from Tier 4 up to Tier 7 maximum. The main role that you will be playing the M5A1 in, it is purely going to be mostly for the scout role itself, rather as a active or as a passive role, which it will be based upon what is going on at the time in the match and where you need to be on the map ASAP. The other roles that the M5A1 can fill quite well is as a support tank, as a relatively good medium to a short distance sniper if you have to, as a flanking tank, or whenever you're top tier or in a situation that you can take advantage of this, you can play this tank quite aggressively if you have to, as long as you play toward the vehicle's strengths, weaknesses, while using the terrain around you to your advantage while not getting killed in the process. I have two replays to show you how well you can do in the M5A1 Stewart. This replay, I will show you how well you can do in the M5A1 Stewart when you are top tier in a tier 4 match maximum. Also, I will be showing off the vehicle ability to switch between roles in a hurry when you have to in a hurry. First thing first, I look at the map where I should go. I am heading to an area where I can effectively do some passive scouting for my team. Seeing nothing in the area here, I eventually head down the hill to begin to make a bit of a aggressive push. I drive very carefully downhill not to take any damage in the process, while using the cover I had back there. I did some passive scouting from my team. Seeing nothing is in this front area here, I begin making a bit of a aggressive push. From me lighting up the artery there, a friendly artillery piece finished it off for me. With the TD on the hill there as well. The enemy team, they are making a push, so I'm going to take advantage of this. Seeing there's only the PD4 there, I'm going to wait for it to go back to the base area before I make my base push. Seeing that my teammates in the B area can handle the tanks at the A45 area easily now. I wait for a moment before going forward to make sure I can spot anything that comes into my sight. The PD4 here is going to flee, but I will use my rate of fire to finish the Sexton 2 off. The PD4 here, I'm going to use my rate of fire on the vehicle here. Rate of fire here to finish the PD4D off with the assistance from my team. Being down to about 1/3 hit points now, I can be killed easily enough, so I need to not to take that many hits. Fortunately, that IKB only damaged me by a bit, so seeing where the enemy forces are on the map here, I'm going to use my mobility to my advantage. Seeing the IKB is busy. Unfortunately, I didn't think the IKB would shoot at me. Fortunately, I'm not going to repeat that mistake again. I use the rate of fire there with how quick the reload I have to finish that Valentine off. Now I am flanking the B2 here to finish it off. I will let the team finish the other D2, DW2 off here. This match we won by capping. I got myself 4 kills in the process, while doing about 620 actual damage, while from the assist damage that I allowed my team to do when I was doing passive and active scouting when I could, I did about additionally 363 damage, which is not too bad. So about 1000 damage in total. Let's go to the next replay. This replay, I am in a tier 6 maximum match to show you how well you can do in this tank whenever you're not top tier. First things first, I am looking at the enemy list, at the enemy tanks that I can penetrate easily enough at this tier difference area still. Looking at the map, I am heading to the 1-2 line to do a bit of passive scouting for my team. So let's speed this replay up a bit. I find myself a bush up here and wait for the enemy tanks to come forward. I wait for a bit of time to see if anything comes my way or not. The leopard there, I got a good shot onto it. While behind the bush here, I am off of the while behind the bush there, I'm off of the enemy radar. At this range, I am trying to hit the enemy tanks with no luck there. I fall back, hoping that I would be off of the enemy radar, move back to the bush there, and be off the enemy radar. That didn't work. Fortunately, I didn't take that much damage from the PZT-25. Fortunately, I managed to ricochet around from the enemy Hellcat and the PZT-25. Using the repair kit at this moment would have been a good idea for my gun, as the accuracy, it is completely rubbish. To finish this leopard off, I made a mistake. I stayed still for a moment to get a shot on the leopard there. Fortunately, both of these leopards, they were loading their gun at the time, so this was not a problem. If I was going up against any other light tank at the moment in that valley there, I would have been dead from those two. Noticing that I am going up against two vehicles in the area here, I repaired my gun, so I have slightly better accuracy firing on the move. Seeing the other STRV is not going to rush forward, I am going to get off of its radar. Now it is 5:10, knowing what we have available on my team and what the enemy have available on their side. This is going to be a lot for me. I am using my mobility here not to get hit. Seeing the STRV has stretched too far from an ally, I am flanking it now. The STRV there, I almost finished it off with the 47mm gun. It was on 1 hit point, which it would have had been nice to finish it off with the last hit there. This replay, I did quite well for not being a top tier tank in this tier 6 match. I got myself 2 kills from the actual gun damage I did to the enemy tanks, the 47mm gun. I did about 860 damage in this tier area, which is pretty good, while blocking a few shots and doing about 700 assist damage, which is not that bad for being a tier 4 light tank in a tier 6 maximum match. Now, let's go to the garage and do a brief recap on the tank itself.